no sympathy for those small water companies who completely mismanage their districts, thinking it's somebody else's problem, not to somehow create a program in raising their prices. I do not understand what's wrong with this valley when it comes to raising prices. We have a crisis on our hands. I just came back from Syria. I was up there fishing this last weekend. It's not a joke. Do they think God's going to go ahead and just dump a bucket of water in their front lawns? This is some serious stuff. I think the agency is doing, I think what we're doing, I think we could do more. I think the cash for grass, if you said it was more, I'd have no problem with that. Why do I go to June Mountain and I see rain gutters going into plastic containers, you know, for water conservation, gathering that water up in a place that's 8,000 feet that has 10 times more water than we get? Nobody's doing anything. I mean, excluding District 40 and maybe a couple other districts, but they need to come to a conclusion here and really do something and raise their prices so they can come and get this water from AVEK. I mean, this money from AVEK. I mean, they've been paying taxes. We're in a situation right now, and the least expensive way to do it is have them pull out their lawns and not use this water that Neil's talking about, where it's 3.5 days a week or 4.5 days a week. And all of us are going to be going to conferences, and I'll tell you something, these conferences are all going to be talking about water conservation and how we can implement programs. I want you guys to take a look at, I don't know if it works here or not, those barrels with, you know, put our AVEK name on them, they put them in people's backyards where the water comes running off. If any of those things can help, you know, 1,000 barrels can save the amount of water not being used. These are things we need to think about going forward. It's a serious thing. I mean, if we don't get any water next year, it could be a 50–60% cut. And we're still worried about keeping our grasses green. I mean, this is nuts. And you know, our reservoirs are going to go down. And I saw the snowpack. There's nothing that's going to be running into it. And the CFI, is that how you say it? Yeah, the CFI. The water they're releasing out of these reservoirs up there right now that go into the Owens River is shoot it down LA. The flows are just unbelievably high right now. And it's hard to fish when the fish are blowing past you, you know. So, I mean, they're doing it up there because there was a lack of water. So, I commend you guys coming up with the money. I think that's a really great solution. And furthermore, I think we should take the money that was not used last year and throw that into the pot because the money was there. And that way we'd have whatever, that 140,000, whatever. But I also believe it's based upon, at the beginning, that the money should go to the percentage of buying our state water. Whoever did buy table A, whatever that percentage is, they should have that percentage of money available to them. And their problem about managing, they don't have any money in their districts. That's crazy. I don't understand how you do not have reserves when they're paying $35 a month and $60 a month water bills, and we have a crisis in our hand. I mean, who's supposed to take care of that? I don't know.
Allocation is still at 20%. They did have an operations committee last week, and that's when they run all the different scenarios, all the different hydrologies, all the different fish restrictions, and they usually run about 10 or 12 different studies. The ones we kind of focus on are the kind of the worst case scenarios, and they're all kind of getting to the worst case scenario at this point. But the allocation, you know, they get a number after they do all these studies, and right now they're 20%. But it looks like most of those allocations show 21–22%. So again, as I've been saying for a month or two, that I don't see any change in the allocation. They might go up 1% or something, but it's not likely.
Most of it doesn't go down.
Yeah, no, I think that's, unless something politically happens, you know, we have a visionary governor, but that water really is south of the Delta, the 20%. So I wouldn't envision anything hydrology-wise to push it down.
What was our holdback from last year?
Our carryover from 14?
5,200. 5,200, and that's going to be available to you for sure.
Yeah, that's water that we essentially kept in surface storage in San Luis. Oroville has dropped a little bit, it's at 63% of historical average. San Luis has dropped to 70% of historical average. This is the reservoir conditions. Let's see, Oroville, San Luis. There was, you can see there's a little bit of a bump there. There was some snow, there was some rain. Northern California, well, a lot of California got a little bit. So there was a little bump in the precipitation. You can see that little ledge there. I think in the Oroville Basin, they got about 1.5 inches, 1.4 inches. But again, that's going to just end up in this reservoir. It's not going to really help our allocation any. But they don't see anything in the next 10 days or so. This is the drought outlook. Again, the tendency for the ongoing. This is a forecast for April through July 1st, and it's projected to just stay dry. The drought will persist or intensify. So I'm not looking at a lot of precipitation in the future months.
Could you go back just a second?
Sure.
So the ones that are clear, those are the ones that did well with water.
Yeah. Yes. This is Oroville. Again, not too much, a little bit of a bump, but not much as far as storage increase. San Luis, again, we're drawing on that storage in San Luis. We did almost get up to our, our 1 million acre feet in San Luis in our share, but it's declining as water's taken out of San Luis. WSSP, well, West Side Bank is at 13.5 inches. Operational. The water banking, again, we're pumping into the aqueduct, so that's water that we can use out of the aqueduct. 1,300. That started on April 2nd. 2.5 MGD going to Mojave, so that's going north of our water bank, and 11 MGD going to 80th and H. We are putting more meat on the bones on the Metropolitan. I briefed the board last time on the Metropolitan draft. We've got another meeting. We've got a call this week with them. I anticipate a meeting that I think we're going to have a draft here pretty soon on an exchange program and a storage program.
They would have done 30,000 acre feet this year,
Well, they don't have 30,000 this year, but we're going to have the structure ready to go. So if we ever get any more water, I figured it'd be good to have the relationship all nailed down and ready to go. Water quality remains good. We've got the CO2 going, and that's helping. We're pumping a lot of groundwater, so water quality remains.
And that's the casing, so our pipe is going to go through it, which is already through it. In this particular location, this DWR owns right away across Avenue U. What it is for the drainage that goes into the aqueduct, they had to provide property so that the drainage wouldn't affect anybody. One power pole there, closer to the pole, and the Southern California Edison would come out pole to pole while we went by it with our pipeline. Edison at this point doesn't hold power poles anymore, so they refused to do that. We tried to move it up and get overruled, get the local field person overruled, but anyway, they said no, we're not going to do it, so we had to realign our pipeline, and when we had to do that, there was some additional ends that had to be made that were already partially fabricated. So the cost of item number 2 has to do with refabricating the bins. Contractor didn't charge us for any of the delays that he had. He just found other things to do, so he was pretty good about this. And all these costs are really related to Northwest Pipe, the physical work they had to do to redo the pipe.
Because of Edison?
Yeah, the contractor, he was legitimate. He said he did bid it based on Edison coming out and holding poles. That he had, that's what he planned, and when he did it, that's what he did. And your pipelines contain the laylock that the Well, we had exposed 4 lines, we found them. There was one evidently that Spectacular Blaylock didn't know about. And we were digging our trench for the pipeline. We found it, and it was full of water. We want to show you just what that means to a contractor when you break a water line. It floods all his trench, and it means that he gets quite a bit of effort to get all the mud cleaned out, to get back on track and lay the pipe again. So that's, I think, gives you a pretty good idea. This particular one also had the cost to repair the broken line. It was a PVC, and so they had to go under ours before we could go over the top. And so that item 1 includes those costs too. The contractor did provide details, all his itemized costs, but everything. We had quite a bit of negotiation on this one too, to get it done. And let's see, that's still the same project, shows the effort that needs to take place, that's still part of it. And then this is another one. So this is item 2. So when we got to 96th Street East and Avenue U, of course we always had contractor calls out USA, because people to mark all the pipelines. Our LA County Water Works District marked theirs, except they didn't know about this one. And so we broke this particular line. It was difficult for LA County Water Works District to get this one shut down. They weren't aware of it. And so it took a while to get the water shut off. And so this one has to do with cleanup. It was unfortunate on this county, it was getting sort of late. They did cap the water line. And the next day when we started work again, it broke loose. So it was twice that the water affected the operations. So this is cleanup on that picture.
Yeah, why would a lawyer not know that?
Well, less.
Huh?
Well, because you call for USA, but it's up to every entity to come out and mark the pipelines. So the Water Works District comes out and marks their pipe, just like you do. You mark your own pipeline. They didn't know about this. The Water Works District didn't know about it, so they didn't mark it. So it's honest.
They don't, how do they know about their own pipeline? Well, I'm not,
Yeah.
sure.
Because that cost us $10,000
Yeah.
because they didn't know where their pipe was and they wasted a lot of water because they
Yeah, and
couldn't
they
shut the
lost
water
a lot
off.
of water.
And then
too.
they're asking us for cash for gas.
Message heard. I'll bring the report back next time. Didn't know about that.
Yeah, and they're real good about marking if they do, but sometimes, they had trouble trying to shut it off too, because they didn't know where
Right.
it was connected to, so certainly it was.
So where's their water going? We don't know.
Recharge.
Actually, I'm pretty sure they capped it, so they didn't need it connected.
Disconnected into our water bank.
Well, after you get out and start digging for pipelines, and we find other utilities and go with those.
That looks like about a 30-inch line?
That was a small, I think it was a 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's by ours.
Oh.
Which is for